Coming up next, you may remember him as Visit Florida's president and CEO, but you should remember him as, well, you don't want to know. Please welcome to the stage, President of Connect Travel, Will Seccombe. Hey, 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 hey,
Thank you all for sticking around. David, Leroy, congratulations on an awesome day of energetic, inspiring presentations. It's an amazing time that we live in. And I just saw a great question that I'm going to, for the last speaker, about 5 years is an awful long way in the future. And how can you predict anything? So I'm going to take that, kind of go down that path a little bit. But first I'm going to start with a story. In 1995, I started as the first ever vice president of marketing at the Denver Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. And the guy that was in my office next to me was the director of communications. And he'd been there for a while. And I always wondered, every time he left the door, he locked the door to his office. And inside his locked office, at his desk, he had a locked drawer. And inside the locked drawer in his locked office, there was a lock box that was locked. And after I'd been around for a few months and I kind of got to figure this out, I asked, what is in the lock box in your locked desk drawer in your locked office? Come to find out, it was the first generation slides of the city of Denver. It was all those images that were so incredibly valuable, because if you wanted to have a picture on the cover of the newspaper somewhere, and remember when we had travel sections in the newspapers? Back then, and he'd have them sign for their life and deliver that back. It was so incredibly important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is coming down the path in the next 5 years. But first, let's think about what has happened since '95. And the whole point is, how are we going to remain relevant after all these incredible presentations from voice search to AI? What's coming down the path in terms of technology? But so in the last 20 years, 1998, Google came around, a total game changer for all of us, and we've had a lot of conversations about that. The BlackBerry came out 110 years after the first telephone was invented. That was in 1999. A total game changer again, the ability to text and the ability to do emails off of this phone. It's the first time when we started to move away from kind of that landline and the computer screen and started to go to this mobile world. The 2000s were really an amazing time when you had, from 2002 with LinkedIn and Friendster, 2003, Nate's favorite website, MySpace. It came out. I mean, that was just a game changer for social media. 2004, Facebook, Flickr. 2005, YouTube. 2006, Twitter. So the era of social media was incredibly transformative to the way that we think, the way that we work, the way that we plan and execute travel, as you start to think about all those ramifications of those technologies. And if those dates are wrong, don't blame me, blame Siri, because I just asked her and she told me exactly where they came from. 2007, another game changer was the iPhone. Totally different world. Instagram, Pinterest came out in 2010. Siri, our first voice search, comes out in 2011. Amazon Echo was 2014. So amazing transformation over the course of those 20 years. What I'm here to say is that I predict that in the course of the next 5 years, we will see more evolution of technology we have in the prior 20. And let me tell you, to answer the question of how can you look so far in the future, I don't know if you've all paid any attention to Ray Kurzweil. He's the futurist at Google. And he tells us that the rate of technology expansion is, we think, linear. We saw this great presentation from STR. 1 quarter to the next quarter, 1 month to the next month, 1 year to the next year. That's how we're trained to think. But technology expands exponentially. So if I were to take 100 steps, I'd get from here to probably the back of this room if I took it linearly. If I did 100 steps exponentially, it would get me to the sun. So it's a big expansion in technology. So that is rapidly changing not only what kind of technologies we're going to be exposed to, but how we as individuals are. One presentation said, we've got a generation that has never not had a mobile phone. My kids are, brains are fundamentally wired differently than ours were. And I caught myself the other day in the office mate started laughing at me when I went to the computer screen to try to touch it to swoop across. Our minds are changing. And so is the way we plan travel. in fundamental differences. We're still used to kind of the old travel planning process, this funnel, and the funnel no longer exists. The travel planning process today is not inspiration, decision, action. The travel planning process today is much more like a maze. We're all over the place using all sorts of information, some that we trust more than others, but, and now we're getting that information in much different ways. And I'm here to tell you that I don't think tourism marketers are changing anywhere nearly fast enough. I think we're still stuck pretty much on the same model as we were 20 years ago. And that goes for all of us. And we're entering into an era where that's just no longer going to be acceptable. I don't know if you all have seen, I flew to London for World Travel Market out of Atlanta, and I went up with my phone to check in, to go to the gate, and they said, no, you don't need your phone, just look at that. And I looked at this screen, and it was biometrics, picked up who I was, shot out a piece of paper with my seat assignment. Just this week, Hertz came out and announced that they've partnered with Clear, and they're doing biometrics so you can check out, and go get your car, drive up, look at the thing, it recognizes who you are, gets the license plate, and off you go. So how is that going to jibe with a hotel when you go and you biometrics as you check into the plane, biometrics as you rent your car, you get to the front desk and check in, and they say, is this the first time you've been here? Don't even know who you are or what your, anything about your history. That's going to fundamentally change not only the travel marketing process, but also how we as operators are going to have to deal in this new environment. So again, I predict that in the next 5 years, technology is going to advance as much as it did in the past 20, and I think that our marketing is going to have to do so as well. I think that if anybody is doing the same things in 3 years that they're doing today, you're going to be so far behind the curve. I'm going to use a quote that I first heard Nate Huff say. It was from General Eric Sheminsky, and he says, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. So I think for all of us in this room, every single person here, probably the biggest risk that we have for the future success of our business is the status quo. So do me a favor, and when you go home tonight, think, what is it that you've got locked in that lockbox that 3 years, 4 years down the road is not going to have any relevance in this world. So thank you guys very much for having me. It's awesome to be back.
Thanks for that, Will. Love the lean in on that intro music.
That's
just
right.
Embrace it, right?
Absolutely.
Sexy Beaches Hotels.
Sexy Beaches.
Let's go. We could roll the Slido. I don't think we have any questions in there yet. You've got the former president and CEO of Visit Florida on the stage, and he's talking about letting go of your lockbox. No questions yet? I'll just throw it to you. What was that? Something scary, right? I'll put you on the spot here. We've got a lot of hoteliers in the room, a lot of industry partners. When you travel and when you check into a hotel, I mean, what is that experience? What is that thing that you feel like, hoteliers are holding on to and could really just try to let go? I mean, is there anything that jumps out at you that, this is a pain point? Why are we doing this over and over to people?
Well, I mean, a lot of technology is getting better. I mean, I can book my hotel room, check in online, and actually avoid a lot of that stuff altogether. But I'll tell you the one thing that I don't see, and I think probably the biggest opportunity, again, for people in this room moving forward is I don't see collaboration within the community. I don't know when the last time I've gone and checked into a hotel and they've said, really pushed out the cool things that are around that community. And I think when you go back to the Adara conversation about what do we trust, we trust recommendations from, and we are going to engage in small businesses. And we just don't see hotels partnering as much as trying to, push you down the path of what their products and services are.
I didn't tell him to say that. Coming from a DMO and the destination, I mean, I like hearing that answer to a certain degree because we love to push the experience, right? The destination experience. It goes beyond those four walls. Real quick, and we'll get you out of here. Any thoughts on paid search, Google Ads? That's up here. Google's in the room. Where that's going. Is it still relevant when we're talking 3-5 years down the line? At what point is that not relevant anymore?
Well, I think any connection is relevant. It's just how you act upon it, right? So if any paid link you're paying for something and you're sending me back to a homepage that's not relevant, there's no value there. I think it's really, really important in the time, all the content that we're creating as destination marketers and tourism marketers, all the influencers and everything that we're doing, the one outcome that's going to happen over the course of this AI and voice search is hyper-personalization is going to be a requirement. If you know me and you know what I want to do, don't send me back to start art, culture, shopping, dining fun for the whole whole family.
Sure.
Send me back to content or a page on the site that's really, really going to be relevant to what I'm looking for.
Really good point. If you're spending money to get somebody to your site, get them to where they need to be. Don't dump them on the homepage.
Correct.
Thank you for that, Will. Appreciate it. Welcome
back.
back.
Thank you, Brad. Good to see you.